Welcome back to another Lunchtime with Live Animals. I'm Forrest, manager of Invertebrate Live Collection here at the Natural History Museum. And today we're calling this one, Let's Eat. Well, let's eat with centipedes and millipedes, because that's what we're going to look at today. Let's get into it. Do you know, or did you remember that centipedes and millipedes are related? They have a distant ancestor that they both stemmed from way back more than 450 million years ago. They evolved from the same ancestor, and they were big, like 2 meters is what the fossil record shows, that they were really, really large at that time. Let me share my screen with us here. So they have a lot of similarities, but in my mind, I think they have more differences than they do similarities. And so let's just go through these step by step, right? Both millipedes and centipedes are related, and they are still related, right, in the Myriapod group. That's the group of invertebrates that has segmented bodies and more than 6 legs, right? Insects have 6 legs. They only have 3 segments. Millipedes have multiple segments of bodies, and as they grow, they add segments and add legs. So it's always increasing with age. But they both have a trunk. Okay, so all these segments collectively is called a trunk. And then a millipede has a tubular body and a rounded head. They both have antenna, but a millipede has a tubular body and it has 2 pairs, right? That's 4 legs per segment. And again, as they grow, they're adding segments, they're adding legs all the time. Now, a centipede has a flat body. It's not tubular, and just 1 pair or 2 legs per segment. And so centipedes are usually faster because they can really move quicker because they're flatter, and they're able to hold their body up on the ground, above the ground, and really move faster, versus a millipede has more girth. It's rounded. Even though it has more legs, it's not nearly as fast as a centipede. And they have different lifestyles as well. So a centipede is a predator, right? They exist on other animals, but the millipedes are not. There are no millipedes that eat other live animals. Now, they do eat decaying plants and animals. So they are detritivores, and that's really important for the environment. So they are taking organic matter, breaking it down, and returning it to the soil and creating new soil in the process. They also are aerating the soil, right? They have that tubular, streamlined body that helps them to push their way through the soil, which aerates it, and mixing and digesting all of that decaying plant and animal matter, and then excreting out basically new soil. So they are super soil enrichers, really important for the environment. And centipedes are predators, so they're going around eating other centipedes, eating other live invertebrates. Sometimes they'll eat a small reptile, sometimes a small bird, or amphibian. So centipedes also have, look over here in this portion of their body. So this is kind of like a fake head right here. This is the true head where the eyes and the mouth parts and the fangs and the antenna are. And this is like a decoy head down here, which is interesting because they are also preyed upon by other animals. And usually with, like, say, a bird or anything that preys upon another animal, they usually try to attack the head and immobilize the fangs, the mouth parts. And so by creating a fake head, they keep the critical part, their real head, where their real fangs are, protected. It's a really interesting strategy. Let's look at their fangs up close. So they have 2 pair here, and then they have a duct that goes down to a venom gland on both sides. And so they are ejecting venom through the tip through a pore in the tip here on both sides in order to, right, subdue their prey, put their prey to sleep, decrease the fight and the energy that they have to expend to subdue the prey. Very effective. So you don't want to get bit by a centipede, though it's not known to be fatal, right? You can always have an allergic reaction. It can cause swelling, localized pain. So not all centipedes, though, have that venom. We'll talk more about those in a minute. Now, how do we tell the difference between a millipede and a centipede? Sometimes they look really similar, and these two have similar coloration, right? So which is which? You can't always go by the color patterns of things. It's better to learn, in some situations, depending upon the animal, the anatomy that distinguishes them. So if we compare the bottom one to the top one, right, look at one segment, and how many legs do you find on that segment? This one has one pair of legs, so that would put it in the centipede category, right? This one has two pairs of legs per segment. This one has that fake head down here. They both have the alternating bands of color, so you don't want to use color. This one has a cylindrical body, which puts it in the millipede section, right? So what do you think? This one is the millipede and this one is the centipede? That's it. I think you'd be right. What do millipedes do for protection? Well, they have several ways of protecting themselves, right? First of all, they're covered in armor. So all invertebrates are covered in an exoskeleton, but a millipede especially just has covered in this shiny black armor for this particular species. And then they'll coil their body up into a tight coil with the head, right, the critical part of their body, protected in the middle of that coil. Super effective against predators. They also, not all millipedes, but some millipedes can secrete toxins through the pores of their body. And that's what this arrow is showing here. This is showing the toxin that was secreted through this giant African millipede. We're going to look at some of these later today. But that's not harmful to people. You can have a localized allergic reaction to anything, but it's not absorbed through our skin. And I've never been affected with it, and I've been working with them for decades. So, but other animals certainly are, especially if you were to ingest it. Other animals would get sick, some would die, right? So it does have an effect. It is a defensive mechanism. And other animals have learned to use the toxins that are secreted by millipedes. Hornbills in Africa, these big birds, will take millipedes and crush them up in their nests and line their nests with the toxins of millipedes because it's antimicrobial. And so it helps keep their nests clean, and it also helps protect their eggs from predators who might want to eat them. They use the secretions from the millipedes that way. And then lemurs are funny because lemurs are immune to the toxin, but it gets them a little bit intoxicated, which they kind of enjoy. There's a picture of one that's looking like it's a little bit buzzed. We have some native millipedes in the United States, one that's called the Texas desert millipede. They are the largest species. They're pretty long, get to be about 6 inches or so long. They're not quite as big as the giant Africans that we're going to look at, but they're big, and they're usually this beautiful tannish color. We can see them in Texas and Arizona, New Mexico, and in some parts of California as well. And we also have our little soil millipedes that you can find pretty much anywhere out in the dirt in your garden. What is their life cycle like? Well, a millipede mother creates what's called a cup. She pushes the soil and creates walls and a base and packs all of her eggs into a protective cup that's underground. And then, depending upon the species, each egg will hatch a brand new baby millipedeling. We'll look at some baby millipede-lings that I have here later on. They're super cute. They can live for a pretty long time. The giant Africans can live for 7 to 10 years, especially in captivity, living on the high life in the captivity with no predators and kind of a buffet situation. And they also have part of their life cycle is molting. So every time they molt, they can regenerate legs that have been damaged, and they can grow if they're in their growing stage of their life. And so they'll add a new segment, right? And then add 4 more legs for that segment, 2 on each side. They also eat their old exoskeleton, right? Because the exoskeleton is filled with vitamins and minerals and calcium. And so they'll definitely eat the old exoskeleton. Now let's look at centipedes. The house centipede is a common one that we find in our houses sometimes, and they can be really funny looking. Some people compare them to looking like a fake eyelash, and I've gotten them confused for fake eyelashes that they find in the bathroom. Look at that side by side of a house centipede and a fake eyelash. I think that's pretty funny. But they're great for eating silverfish or spiders or other pests that may come into your house, roaches. They're harmless to us. They come in to help us with pest control, and you don't have to worry about them. Keep them as a pet. Let's look at some video that we took back in the lab of one that was molting. Let's see if we can get to it. So they'll push their way with contractions and moving their legs. They'll slide out of their old exoskeleton, right? She's kind of off-colored right now, and then she's going to turn around and eat that old exoskeleton, recycle all of those nutrients back into her body. Her exoskeleton will harden, and she'll get all of her amazing coloration back in a couple of days after that molt. Let's talk a little bit about coloration. Right? So they can be pretty amazingly colored, right? They have what are called warning coloration. And so that's these alternating colors of contrasting colors of like orange and black and yellow, or one is purple and orange and yellow and blue and sometimes even pink. And so, right, this is nature's way of saying back off, man. You know, I'm warning you, right? Don't come much closer. Certainly don't try to eat me, right? We use this kind of coloration sometimes with our own signage in order to signal and advertise and tell a message of look out. Because what happens is the brain, especially the mammal and bird brain, is very visual, and it remembers, oh my gosh, you know, something happened, and it locks down that memory and associates it with that startling color combination. It's helps us with survival, and it helps the animal with survival as well. The animal that has the coloration, right? Centipedes can be amazing mothers. They hunker down in a burrow that they have built, right? They built it themselves, and then they will incubate and sequester with their eggs, protecting them from intruders, and they line their burrow just so that the eggs don't dry out and stay humid and moist. And then eventually, out of each egg, a new little centipedeling will emerge. And it takes a couple of days for them to get all of their coloration. But eventually, right, centipedes are solitary creatures because they're predaceous. They can eat each other. And so they'll all disperse to their own individual abode eventually. There's not a lot of motherly parental care after that. All right, let's go to our creature cam now. I've got some really amazing things here that I'd like to show you. And we're going to do some centipede feedings and let's see what we can see. All right, so these are the giant African millipedes here from Africa. I just have a whole bunch of them in this small container here just for the show and tell purpose. And all right, let's see if we can get some of those wave-like feet going. And see how it really just feels like, you know, you take a comb and you rub your thumb across it. Really feels like that, but they're not slimy. They have this really rigid, hard exoskeleton that, you know, they've been wallowing in the dirt, but look how spotless and shiny it is. Glasses are fogging up. See all their legs moving like a wave. I'm just going to try to let it go hand over hand here. So these guys would be living underneath the soil. They also love fallen tree logs, munch down on all that old, delicious wood, and return all the nutrients to the soil, creating, compost and just really healthy soil, which is just really important for then other plants to be able to use that soil in their root system. And then if it were to start secreting the secretions, it would come out through pores in its skin, and it would stain my fingers, but this one is not feeling overly defensive. More curious than anything. You can see her antenna going there. She's busybody. Busy. So, they can live for a long time in captivity. We go down to my other camera here in a minute. Let's see if I can get somebody to coil up for me to the defensive coil. Oh, don't feel like it. It's okay. It's a good thing. She's not defensive toward me. All right, I'm going to switch cameras. And this is Dolly that we're going to feed here. She is a red-headed centipede from Indonesia, Vietnam area. Look at all those, like she's really trying to scale up this slippery wall. It's like she's on the treadmill. She's hungry. She's been treadmilling it here for a while. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed her what is called a mealworm. This is a beetle grub of the darkwing beetle. And she is just one of a few centipedes that we have in our collection. She's not paying any attention to this mealworm. She's really enjoying this exercise she's getting. All right, we can go back to her in a minute. Let's see if Tweedledee here. This is one of our native centipedes, native to the Sonoran Desert here in the United States. Let's see if she's engaged. Let's get the light changed a little bit here. Okay. I'm going to give her a little tiny roach. Little sleeper. She's investigating. Yep, got it. She's going to envenomate the roach. So the roach will be subdued here shortly. Just fall asleep. And she uses her biting and chewing mouth parts She'll eat every single bit of that. Not waste any of it. You can go for a long period of time without eating. They have a pretty slow metabolism. I also love to watch these guys drink. So if you put a dish of water in their container, they will just belly right up to it. It's like a domesticated animal. You can watch their antenna curl around, enjoy as they are sipping water out of their water dish. Super beautiful. All right, guys. Well, switch document camera again. Here we go. As always, I appreciate joining us. I hope you have some good questions and comments that we can look forward to answering. And as always, you can find more information on our Instagram page at NHM LA _live animals. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.